யூனோ இதுல பிஎஸ்சி கம்ப்யூட்டர் சயின்ஸ் படிக்கிறப்ப வந்து அப்பதான் வந்து ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டைமா வந்து வி ஆர் எக்ஸ்போசிங் டு இங்கிலீஷ் பேஸ்ட் கிளாஸஸ், ரைட்? அப்போ வந்து என்ன ஆகும் அப்படின்னா, நம்ம கிட்டத்தட்ட அந்த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கம்ப்யூட்டர் சயின்ஸ் கோர்ஸ் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சாப்டரே வந்து உள்ள வந்து எஸ்ஏ மாதிரி மனப்பாடம் பண்ணோம். எனக்கு தெரியல எப்படி பண்ணோம் அப்படின்னு தெரியல, மனப்பாடம் பண்ணிட்டு சரி அதை எழுதுவோம் அப்படின்னு சரியா ரிஃப்ளெக்ட் பண்ண முடியல என்னால. அப்புறம் தான் வந்து தென் ஒன்ஸ் யூ ஸ்டார்டட் அட்டெண்டிங் கிளாஸஸ், ரைட்? அது மாதிரி கிளாஸஸ் எல்லாம் அட்டென்ட் பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறம் வந்து நிறைய புக்ஸ், ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து புக் படிக்க ஆரம்பிச்சீங்கனாலே ஈஸியா வந்து அந்த பேட்டர்ன் வந்து ஏற்கனவே நீங்க 10 வருஷம் 15 வருஷமா வந்து ஏற்கனவே பண்ணிருக்கீங்க, ஆக்சுவலா 12 வருஷமா. ஸோ இப்போ நிறைய புக் படிக்கிறப்ப வந்து என்ன ஆகும் அப்படின்னா, நாட் ஓன்லி த சப்ஜெக்ட் புக்ஸ், அதுக்கப்புறம் அந்த மேகசின்ஸ் எல்லாம் வரும், இந்த நிறைய கணிதம் ரிலேட்டட் மேகசின்ஸ் எல்லாம் வரும். அந்த மேகசின்ஸ் எல்லாம் படிச்சீங்கன்னா உங்களுக்கு தெரியும், ஓகே இதெல்லாம் ஃபர்ஸ்ட்ல புரியாது என்ன சொல்ல வராங்க அப்படின்னு, தென் யூ ஸ்டார்ட் எக்ஸ்ப்ளோரிங், இதெல்லாம் தான் தெரியும் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி இந்த ஏரியாஸ்லாம். அப்புறம் நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி காம்படிஷன்ஸ் ஃபார் ஷூர், அது முரளிதரன் சார் தான் வந்து என்கரேஜ் பண்ணாரு. நான் பிஷப் பீப்பர் போயிருக்கேன், பிஹெச்டி டெக் போயிருக்கேன், நிறைய தடவை பிஹெச்டி டெக் போயிருக்கேன், கோபி ஆர்ட்ஸ் அண்ட் சயின்ஸ் போயிருக்கேன். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டைம் போறப்ப நிறைய தோல்விகள் வந்திருக்கு. அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து ஒரு கேங் மாதிரி ஃபார்ம் பண்ணிட்டு வித்தின் எம்எஸ்சி ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் ஒரு 5 பேர். அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒரு 3-4 காம்படிஷனுக்கு அப்புறம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா மை நேம் வில் பி தேர் ஃபார் ஷூர். 300 பேர் வந்து அட்டெண்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க. யூனோ தே கம் ஃப்ரம் ஆர்இசிஸ், தே கம் ஃப்ரம் பிஎஸ்சி டெக்லாம் நீங்க சொல்லவே தேவையில்லை இல்லையா, they come from like many places, even from Bangalore. ஆனா வந்து for sure என்னோட பேர் தியாகுன்னு ஒருத்தன், இன்னும் 2-3 பசங்க வந்து எங்களோட பேர் இருக்கும் for sure அந்த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ரவுண்ட்ல. அந்த செகண்ட் ரவுண்ட் வந்து of course that's a real competition, பட் ஒரு 300-400 பேர் அட்டெண்ட் பண்ற இதுல வந்து in a total தமிழ்நாடு, right, you get placed in a 2 or 3 places அப்படின்னா you build the confidence. Then once you have the confidence that you know the skill, நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி வந்து அந்த knowledge base இருக்கு அப்படின்னாலே, then you start exploring, then you start communicating, then obviously you will build it. It takes time. அதாவது செந்தமிழும் நாம் பழக்கம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்கல்ல, அது வந்து தமிழுக்கு மட்டும் வந்து பொருந்தினது கிடையாது, இங்கிலீஷ்க்கும் அது மாதிரி தான். இங்கிலீஷா இருக்கட்டும், கர்நாடகாவா இருக்கட்டும், எஷுவா இருக்கட்டும். Let's start with the good news. There are about 65 million new jobs will be started, or from between now and 2025. Literally, it's all like new jobs, not the existing ones. It's going to be the new jobs in the IT industry itself. It's with the various technologies and various domains, and there are like multiple things. So which means that I think in the MSc MCA it's about like 500 students. I think maybe more than that, maybe about 1,000, right? So you all get a job for sure. So that's the good news. கண்டிப்பா வந்து எல்லாத்துக்குமே வந்து ஜாப் உண்டு, சரியா? Based on your skill sets and experience and whatnot and your interest, I'm sure you all will be get placed. And good luck. I'm sure things will happen for you. So today's session it's about like how do we prep, how do we do the preparation, right? I'm going to pause for every slide and kind of like let you guys think about it, and you can come back, in case if you have questions, we can have about 10-15 minutes Q&A session. Then certainly I can help you guys with the advices and mentoring and whatnot later. Then let's talk about tech in demand, right? So I've been interviewing people. You won't believe it. In the past 8 months, I have interviewed about like 300 people, right? From various technologies. I'm building a whole new organization within the LoanDepot, right? I'm interviewing people with the front-end development, right, which includes Angular, JavaScript, and sometimes React skills, right? And I'm interviewing people with the backend, right? Backend development, including .NET, Java, right? With the Spring Boot and Node.js, and QA automation. QA automation is like a big thing for now. There are a lot of people, they want to kind of like know the tech, but they wanted to align to QA because that's where there are multiple opportunities to easily get it, right? You don't need to know a complete tech stack, but you just need to know a few automation tools, such as like Selenium or APM, right, including C# or JS or Java. With that, you can do the QA automation. So in the 5 or 6 categories that you guys see it, it's not in any such order per se. Pretty much all of them has its own area of importance. So about like 200 people, about 10% of them interested in what do you call it, like infrastructure, right? And networking, it kind of like easily comes to you, but you don't want to do a lot of coding. I do understand, so many friends in my cohort, and they were not. I mean, they're good guys. They've done like 70%, 80% of mark, but they don't want to do a coding. They like the job. So for them, I think studying cloud technologies and DevOps certainly helps. Pretty much all the companies, you can say by 2025, about like 70-80% of companies, they're going to migrate from on-prem system to cloud, public cloud. So which includes, there are like 4 of them. The top three are like AWS, Azure, and Google, right? They all like providing a cloud services. So once you learn that platform, and in case if you get some certification on that, there is a plenty of opportunities for sure, right? And even for the other developers, be it like a front end or a back end or a QA automation, knowing the Google or AWS or Azure technology, or knowing the cloud platform, certainly helps. So if you ask me, the one thing I want you guys like focus on, regardless of what career path you would choose within the IT, I would get you guys like certified on at least one of these cloud technologies for sure. Start exploring. It doesn't take a lot of time. I can certainly give you some education material for you guys to get familiar with the cloud technology, right? So that's the first aspect. And the second one, if you ask me, it's still in a very what do you call that? It's not a premature per se, but it's not matured yet, which is the AIML, artificial intelligence and machine learning. The data scientist is a role, but in order to become a data scientist, you got to learn machine learning or deep learning, and there is a TensorFlow. It is a tech stack, and Python, right? Python, natural language programming. These are the areas. Even if you start now, in the next couple of years, with the limited knowledge, you can easily get placed. That's the easiest thing, and there is a plenty of opportunities. If you know that, you know Python, you kind of understand how the artificial intelligence works, how to build a framework. There's a ton of opportunities, especially for the freshers, right? Because all these things are pretty new. There is not many people in the industry who come with this experience, right? It's just like in the past few years, it's picking up, and there are business cases that people are still evaluating whether it makes sense or not, right? Just to give an example, today I think AWS, I think they introduced their introduced a robot. So that robot pretty much has like multiple AIML, algorithms and data models, and constantly learning both visual as well as voice recognition. The other example I would say, Tesla, right? Tesla being a car, it constantly learns and with the visual signals, and it can drive on by its own, and it's still there is a lot can be done. Not only Tesla, there are competitors going to come into that space, so there's a lot of opportunities there. Then when it comes to front end, the things that you guys need to understand is that it's not only the front end development that you like, but it's more than that. We'll get to that later. Kind of, you need to get into the tech stack, right? JavaScript, Angular. What does that mean? What are the libraries? So knowing a little bit what they call it, double click and go to the layer, then you get to know exactly like what is the expectation, right? I will go through a few samples. I don't want to stay in the same slide. It's really boring. But these are the areas. Like we are talking about like 6 areas, and each area of what you need to understand in order to become successful, at least to crack the interview, right? Let's go to the next few slides. I have taken mobile development as just a case study, right? And I'm going to kind of like go through step by step. What does that mean? How do we develop in industry? Knowing that like how the tech works, certainly you can apply towards the other technologies as well. So let's take the Android technology, right? Before we start building a mobile application, right? We define the tech stack. What does that mean? What is the user experience design? What is the tech we use? I know some of the words, I'm not sure whether you will be able to read it or not, but still I'll go through this a little bit, right? For example, like Android material design or layout editor, that's for the UI design, right? Then you have got like a performance tuning. You need to understand the profiler, hierarchy viewer, and things like that, right? You need to understand what is the crash report means. For example, if I have a mobile application, right, and in case if it crashes, right, not only me, there are thousands of users going to use my mobile app, especially in the financial services industry. Mobile app with the stability is extremely important, right? You need to understand what is that crash reports means, right? Be it on the Android or on iOS, right? Then, for example, unit test. So when you are doing a unit test, how do you do a unit test for the actual logic and UI? And if you go to the other areas, for example, analytics and login, right? When an application being accessed by a user, whether he logged in or not, whether he's able to make a payment or not, whether he's able to access certain documents or not. So in every scenario, we kind of log the user experience, a customer journey per se, right? And having that information within the company, you can run like analytics, you can understand the profiles. Say, for example, I will share some of the metrics, right? Right now, the business that I manage, the technology business, it's about like 500,000 customers, 500,000 customers. They are accessing my mortgage financial services application. On a month-on-month basis, about like 70% of people, they do the payment transaction through the mobile application, and majority of them uses like iOS app. How do I know? When I connect this with the Google Analytics, or when I connect with my Azure Insights, I get to see like what my customers access. I mean, not the personal information per se, but in general, the metrics, right? So in a nutshell, now I'll explain it in a different way. One of the students to பேசினப்ப அவங்க சொன்னாங்க, it's not about what you explain, it's about like how do we understand, how does it help us அப்படின்ற மாதிரி. இப்போ ஆண்ட்ராய்டு அப்ளிகேஷன் மொபைல் டெவலப்மெண்ட் எனக்கு வந்து ஒர்க் பண்ண தெரியும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லணும் அப்படின்னா இந்த ஏரியாஸ்லாம் நீங்க வந்து கவர் பண்ணணும். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து யூசர் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ்னா என்ன, கிராஷ் ரிப்போர்ட்ஸ்னா என்ன, பெர்ஃபார்மன்ஸ் டியூனிங்னா என்ன பண்ணணும், யூனிட் டெஸ்டிங்னா என்ன பண்ணணும், அத்தன்டிகேஷன். இப்போ ஒரு கஸ்டமர் வந்து கனெக்ட் பண்றாங்க, லாகின் பண்றாங்க அப்படின்னா அந்த அத்தன்டிகேஷன் வந்து எப்படி ஒர்க் ஆகுது? பேக் எண்ட்ல நம்ம என்ன பாஸ்வேர்ட் பேஸ்ட் அத்தன்டிகேஷன் இருக்குமா, இல்ல ஓஆத் இருக்குமா? ஸோ அப்படின்ற மாதிரி நீங்க என்ன பண்ணணும்னா அத்தன்டிகேஷன் ஏரியா வந்து கவர் பண்ணிருக்கணும். சரியா? ஆஸ் அ ஃப்ரெஷர் நீங்க வந்து ஒரு இன்டர்வியூக்கு அட்டன் பண்றீங்க அப்படின்னா நான் வந்து ஒரு மொபைல் ஆப் பண்ணியிருக்கேன் அப்படின்னு சொல்றது மட்டும் இல்லாம இந்த ஏரியாஸ் எல்லாம் எனக்கு தெரியும். A little bit of it. They are not expecting that you need to be an expert in every area, but at least உங்களுக்கு வந்து இந்த ஏரியாலாம் எனக்கு தெரிஞ்சிருக்கு. லாக் பண்ணணும்னா என்னன்னு தெரிஞ்சிருக்கு, யூனிட் டெஸ்டிங்னா என்னன்னு தெரிஞ்சிருக்கு, பர்ஃபார்மன்ஸ் டெஸ்டிங்னா என்னன்னு தெரிஞ்சிருக்கு, அதை எப்படி டியூன் பண்ணணும்னா தெரிஞ்சிருக்கு. Then they get curious. Not a lot of people இந்த விஷயம் நிறைய பேருக்கு தெரியாது. ஏன்னா வந்து எல்லாருமே இன்டர்வியூக்கு வந்து என்ன பண்ணுவாங்கன்னா, ஓகே வாட் இஸ் 10 questions, 10 most asked questions, 50 most asked questions, அது வந்து நான் ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்ணுவாங்க. அது வந்து அவங்களால வந்து அலைன் பண்ண முடியாது. அதாவது ஒரு கேள்வி கேட்டோம் அப்படின்னம்னா, சரி நீங்க லாகின் எப்படி யூஸ் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க அப்படின்னு சொன்னா அவங்களுக்கு தெரியாது. சரியா? அவங்களால மேபி அதை ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணாம இருந்திருக்காங்க. இட் டசன்ட் டேக் அ லாட் ஆஃப் டைம். ஸோ இன் a nutshell, just for the mobile technology itself, mobile app itself, you have user experience, you have unit testing, authentication, logging. இதே பேட்டர்ன் வந்து நீங்க வந்து .NET டெவலப்மெண்ட்டுக்கோ இல்ல ஜாவா டெவலப்மெண்ட்டுக்கோ இல்ல பைத்தான் டெவலப்மெண்ட்டுக்கோ யூ கேன் சர்டன்லி அப்ளை, ரைட்? எக்ஸாம்பிளுக்கு வந்து பைத்தான் வந்து இட்ஸ் நாட் அ யூசர் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் திங், ரைட்? இட்ஸ் அபவுட் லைக் பில்டிங் மெஷின் லேர்னிங் மாடல்ஸ். அப்போ வந்து மிஷின் லேர்னிங் மாடல்ஸ் வந்து யூஸ் பண்றப்ப நீங்க எப்படி லாகின் பண்ணுவீங்க, பர்ஃபார்மன்ஸ் வந்து எப்படி அட்ரஸ் பண்ணுவீங்க, அதை ஆத்தன்டிகேஷன் ஆத்தரைசேஷன் எப்படி பண்ணுவீங்க, where do you store the log, அதெல்லாம் வந்து if you think about it, if you prep for it, I'm sure you will crack the interview. சரிங்களா? So let me pause here for a second, then I'll go through the rest of the development life cycle. What I mean by that, as an organization, when I run a technology organization, I have about 100 people working for me. So in that 100 people, I have a multiple scrum teams. Each team, how do they develop the application on a daily basis? ஏன்னா நிறைய பேர்த்துட்டு நான் பேசினப்ப வந்து என்ன சொன்னாங்கன்னா, they are not sure, they don't have an exposure into how a software organization works on a daily basis. What do they do, right? Even though they've studied like BSc computer science, MSc computer science, they got a ton of knowledge and skill sets. I'm not underestimating anything here. To be frank, நீங்க வந்து கிட்டத்தட்ட on an average நீங்க ஒரு 5 years வந்து படிச்சிருக்கீங்க இல்லைங்களா? இது மாதிரி கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 25 to 30 lecturers வந்து உங்களுக்கு டீச் பண்ணிருக்காங்க. You have gone through about 30 to 50 exams at least. சரியா? அதை வந்து ஒரு நாள் படிச்சு எக்ஸாம் பாஸ் பண்றீங்களோ இல்ல 3 months படிச்சு பாஸ் பண்றீங்களோ, but you've done it, right? You know something about it. So there is a lot of knowledge and skill sets and ability. It's all out there. It's a matter of how do you bridge the gap in the education and the foundation and the expectation, industry expectation. How are you going to bridge the gap? So other than we're going to go through it. சரிங்களா? So let me take a pass. Just think for a moment, and then we'll go to the iOS app. I'm just taking a mobile app, just a case study, right? And similarly, the other texts or other development also happen in the same fashion.
Ganesh,
சொல்லுங்க சார்.
ஸ்லைட கொஞ்சம் மேக்ஸிமைஸ் பண்ண முடியுமா ஃபுல் ஸ்கிரீன்?
ஷூர்.
ஃபாண்ட் சின்னதா இருக்குங்கறாங்க. இப்ப விசிபிள்.
அப்சல்யூட்லி. சோ இந்த ஸ்கிரீன் தான் நீங்க சொல்லிருக்கீங்க இல்லையா?
ஆமா ஆமா.
Sir, can you see it now? Is it better?
Yes.
Sorry, my apologies.
No problem.
Okay. We'll go with this, right? Now, slides வந்து நான் ஷேர் பண்றேன். I know that these fonts are really small, but I would certainly share this, right? But today's topic is, I'm not going to teach or explain about the mobile technology, but I wanted to show a few things around. Certainly.
Carry on.
So the next stuff, right? Right now we are building mobile application. For me, this is not the first time. I've run an organization where I built omni-channel experience, which includes like IVR, like call center, right? Setting up a call center, a web application, right? I've done a web application which are customized. Then I've done built a SaaS platform, banking as a service, and I've done a mobile applications. Mobile applications can be done with a native app, which includes iOS, Android app. Then you can use a React Native. Once you build it, you can deploy it in multiple platforms. So there are multiple ways to do it. So next 2 to 3 slides, we'll talk about how do we approach, how do you build a certain system. What is the difference if you're building it out of the college and somebody who has not been this software development life cycle, and you will see the big difference, right? The first thing is it's all about building the architecture runway, which includes for about next 3 to 5 years. நீங்க வந்து என்ன பில்ட் பண்ண போறீங்க, ஸோ என்ன மாதிரி யூசர் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் வந்து இருக்கணும் அப்படின்றது. யூசர் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் யூ கைண்ட் ஆஃப் டிசைன் த யூசர் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ், be it web or mobile. Once the user experience built பண்ணிட்ட, then we build an architecture runway, which includes my dev environment, QA, UAT, and production, right? And I say what is the capacity, memory, compute capacity, networking, all that aspect I would define. Then I would define the tech stack. Tech stack na, that's what we've gone through, right? iOS na in a tech stack, Java in a tech stack, C# in a tech stack. Then once I defined that, then that's when I started building my organization. Meaning in our organization I need to have I'm a VP, then I need to have at least one director under me. There are multiple directors. Then there are dev managers, right? You want to have development managers who manages the Scrum team. Right now people follow the agile methodology. So within that Scrum team, there is going to be developers, multiple developers, including user experience developers, backend developers, and QA testers. Then user experience people, right? And there is a Scrum master. That's how the agile team is. There are multiple agile teams. Once I defined this is what my organization structure is, and then I started hiring people, right? And we are not going to get into the hiring process, but in general, I would know exactly what I'm going to hire for the next 3 to 5 years, right? How my organization is going to grow. Then after that, so when it comes to the development, so once I onboarded, this is what you're going to do. Maybe once you join the organization, right? This is all the latest stuff. Maybe 5 years ago the CI/CD wasn't there, but I'll explain what is CI/CD means. Continuous integration and continuous deployment. People, they say continuous delivery. So which includes that the people who build that application, right? Be it Android application or Xcode or even Java, .NET, any application for that matter. The developer, once they build this application, they check in the code. They check in the code into the repository, right? Repository means GitHub repository. There are multiple repositories. So when you are working with 5 people, 50 people, 500 people, you want to have a common place where you check in the code. When you are doing a project, I don't know whether we follow that, but in general, this is pretty much available. GitHub repositories is available, right? So you check in the code, then it goes to the source control, that manages pretty much all the code, versioning, revisioning, all of that stuff. Then as soon as you check in and the code gets checked out, and it gets automatically being built. When it goes through the build process, it does a code scan, security code scan, all of that stuff, right? Exception handling, and whether you are using certain variables or not, and things like that. Then it automatically builds and kind of pushes the artifacts wherever you want to get it deployed. In the mobile aspects, it creates .lpa, .apk files. Then it gets pushed into the testing. Then you do alpha testing, beta testing in a QA or UAT places. Then finally you push them into the Google Play or Apple store, right? Google store or a Apple store. And that's how it goes. You define that pipeline, then the team on a daily basis, they develop the code, they go through this pipeline and get the code promoted to production. I know I'm rushing here. I'm kind of like want to give you a snapshot, but we'll focus on the core message. How do you get there, right? And we'll certainly cover that aspects as well. So that's on the CI/CD aspects. CI/CD is it's a relatively new concept. It will take some time for you to understand how do you set up the pipeline. But once you know the CI/CD concept, you have set up a pipeline. That's a great skill to have. Not many people who is applying have that exposure into the DevOps, right? Then let's talk about the QA testing approach. In general, these are the areas. I'm pretty sure you have a software engineering concept. All of that is covered by professors, and you have like courses, you have tests. You have like tests to go through. But anyways, in general, I'm going to cover it pretty quickly, right? So in an agile, you have like a sprint backlog. You kind of take that what you call the business requirements, and you create them, put them into places, and prioritize them, like what product features you want to build. Then you analyze the story, plan and estimate the story. Then in parallel, if development in parallel, you will start creating QA test stories. அதே மாதிரி நீங்க வந்து டெஸ்ட் ஆட்டோமேஷன் வந்து செட்டப் பண்ணுவீங்க. Then you will start doing the test execution, right? Once the development is completed, it all happens on a daily basis. In the past, when I joined about like 10 years ago, they had like waterfall method, right? That as a SDLC process. Right now, pretty much people follow agile. Knowing agile approach, regardless of நீங்க வந்து பேக் அண்ட் டெவலப்பரா இருக்கலாம், ஃப்ரண்ட் அண்ட் டெவலப்பரா இருக்கலாம், it doesn't matter. You need to know what is the methodology, right? How do you communicate with your team, right? How do you communicate with the product owner or a scrum master? So knowing that agile methodology certainly helps. Now the deck on the share panel. So this is the bits and pieces, right? It's not like in-depth, but you can explore these aspects. Then of course, once you are done like test execution, you need to do the defect reporting. Finally it goes to the system regression testing and UAT, and finally you release the code into production. The QA is a very interesting area. It's like everlasting, right? If you know the automation, if you know how to do it, if you're curious enough, I think this is the place easily you can get in as a QA tester. And QA doesn't stop with the application testing. It also goes into the security testing as well. Let's see, like so we started 1:30. This is about 30 minutes, right? Sure. I just want to be sure, like we are on time. I don't want to take most of your time, guys. So let's talk about the app security testing, right? This is also people who got like at least 3 to 5 years experience. They kind of start exploring these areas. But as a fresher, even if you know like talk about security testing, right? A little bit of it. Then there are opportunities for sure. இதெல்லாம் வந்து எப்படின்னா உங்களுக்கு வந்து சிக்னல்ஸ், ரைட்டா? நான் என்னோட ஒரு சின்ன ஸ்டோரி மட்டும் சொல்றேன், ஓகேவா? இட்ஸ் அபவுட் லைக் 18 years ago, right? When I did my MSc, during that time, maybe like BSc, like 2001, about 20 years ago, when people knew, like I think it was right after .com burst and something around that time, யாராவது வந்து ஜாவா எனக்கு தெரிஞ்சும் அப்படின்னு சொன்னாங்களே, எனக்கு வந்து ஆப்ஜெக்ட் ஓரியன்டட் கான்செப்ட்ஸ் தெரியும் அப்படின்னு சொன்னாங்கனாலே வந்து people will get placed, whether they have completed the degree or not. எனக்கு தெரிஞ்சு வந்து திருச்சியில இருந்து நிறைய பேர் வந்து they've joined and they traveled abroad and stuff like that, right? So tech industry, tech in general, right? It's ever changing. It's fast paced. அதுல வந்து that's what the challenge and that is what the advantage is, right? அந்த டைம்ல வந்து 20 years முன்னாடி வந்து you know they were just coming into vb.net அதெல்லாம் இருந்துட்டு I think not vb.net, from vb people are getting into java. ஸோ அப்போ வந்து ஜாவா வந்து புதுசா இருந்தனால அவங்களுக்கு யாருக்கு தெரியுமோ, எனக்கு வந்து ஸ்விங் தெரியும் அப்படின்னாலோ இல்ல ஜேஎஸ்பி தெரியும் அப்படின்னாலோ they were getting placed pretty quick. அதே மாதிரி இப்போ ஹாட்டா இருக்கிறது எப்படின்னா the topics that we covered, right? When you say that you know the application security and you know how to do that application security testing, அப்படின்னா வந்து they raise the eyebrow, which means that the guy got a stuff, right? He has studied well and he's curious enough, and for sure there will be opportunity. If I were in the interview panel, if somebody talk about app security testing, that means the guy knows something, right? And he's cautious about the security aspects. இப்போ வந்து கிட்டத்தட்ட be it like a mobile application or a web application, pretty much like there are ton of applications out there. The privacy information security is the biggest concern, right? நம்ம இந்த past 20 yearsல வந்து automation பண்றது எல்லாமே பண்ணிட்டோம். இப்போ எல்லாம் வந்து nobody is converting from paper to application, right? That was like a long time ago. Right now it's about like within that app, how do I expand, be it like Twitter, Facebook, all ton of social media aspects, right? Like WhatsApp, how do we listen to those social media? How do we do the target marketing, right? So example on the if you are watching a YouTube video about t-shirts or something, then when you go to dinamala.com போனீங்கன்னா கிட்டத்தட்ட வந்து t-shirt related ads வந்து வந்திருக்கும். அது வந்து வேற ஒரு டிவைஸ்ல இருந்து ஆக்சஸ் பண்ணீங்கனாலும் வந்து they'll be tracking. நீங்க வந்து I mean you will be astonished, இது எப்படி வந்து இப்படி ட்ராக் பண்றாங்க அப்படின்ட்டு. So anyways, I'm going to off topic here. Privacy and information security is the big thing for the next like at least a couple of decades, I would say next 20 years. And it slowly started, even government started paying attention. In US, we have multiple laws, and also in India for sure, right? You have like California Consumer Protection Act, CCPA, then I think GDPR, right, from Europe, and even from every state there are certain restrictions and laws. But anyways, just coming back to the topic, if you know how to do that Veracode scan, Sonar Cube scan, like burp shoot, Synac.com, which is like a pen test, meaning you have an application you hosted and you want to make sure it is secure, not from somebody like South Africa, or I don't know, I don't want to name the countries that where people start looking for the weak areas, and they access your payment APIs, and they take away the monies, right? They may take away the privacy information, and they started like making calls and stuff like that. This is all this is all true. Example நான் சொல்லணும்னா ஒரு 2 months முன்னாடி we were having like DDoS attack, which is distributed denial of services, DDoS, right? All of my applications are in Azure, in a public cloud. There is no problem with the compute or data issues. But இருந்தாலும் வந்து என்ன ஆச்சு அப்படின்னா கிட்டத்தட்ட வந்து சவுத் ஆப்பிரிக்கா, யூரோப் அண்ட் சவுத் ஏசியா, கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 2-3 கண்ட்ரில வந்து at the same time they were attacking some of my API services, right? All of my API services are financial services, which means that there are payment aspects, there are loan information aspects. Luckily, right, we have purchased DDoS protection, not only the technology package but also the insurance package. So Azure pretty much like protected us for sure, but we can literally see in live we can see like who are accessing our applications. So the reason why I think if you guys like you have about like 100 people, out of which even like 5%, about 5 people focusing on the information security, security related testing, security related certifications. If you say that your resume says like a little bit of it, then I think you'll be in for sure, right? Adala on the latest technologies. So I'm going to move to the next slide. So let me expand a little bit here. This is an interesting one. This is also from McKinsey. It's not my source. It's not my picture. So let me talk about what do you call it? The industry, right? Industries in general. About 10-15 years ago, என்னடா பழைய ஆள் மாதிரி பேசுறேன் அப்படின்னு நினைக்காதீங்க. It was hard. Trust me, when I did my MSc Computer Science, only if I get placed into the MNC, right, I get to know the business, right? Because it was not happening much in India. It was happening in India for sure, but there were much more Europe-based or American-based companies. They were doing a lot of digital transformation. அப்போ வந்து என்ன அர்த்தம்னா, so I was not sure. I know how to do the coding, but I don't know whom I'm developing the applications, right? என்ன applications-னா வந்து என்ன யூசேஜ் அப்படின்றதுன்னு தெரியாது, because I've not seen people accessing it. இப்ப கரண்டா பாத்தீங்கன்னா இந்தியா வந்து இட்ஸ் லைக் transforming at a big time, right? Pretty much all the sectors, be it like a financial services, agriculture, education, logistics, retail, pretty much all sector. You don't need to be in a call, join an MNC to understand how the application works, right? You can இதுல வந்து தர்பூசணி விற்கிறவர் வந்து he's just accessing his laptop, right? So he kind of can invest, right? He can have a bank account, right? And he can purchase, he can sell things by accessing the account, and he can also pretty much do the retail stuff with the laptop. So which means that it's not a big gap, right? You can easily watch around and understand how things works. To give some numbers here, this is also from McKinsey. By 2025, with the digital cloud transformation, the India's economy, right, by sector, in the financial services, it's about like $170 billion, and the jobs and skills, which means like people searching for the jobs and placing jobs and things like that, 70 billion. Agriculture, there is a lot of IoT related applications, right? Infrastructure is being built. That's about like 70 billion, right? And education sector itself, 50 billion. To be honest, like a lot of things, transforming, like this, many courses being like, offered through online, apart from structured courses such as like MSc, MCA, MBA, and things like that. There are like micro courses. So if you want to be an expert in Python, if you want to be an expert in mobile application development, so companies like Udemy and Coursera, LinkedIn Learning, all of them, they're offering like online trainings, right? So that's about 50 billion. This is all in India. Like I'm talking about only the Indian economy itself, right? This is a big expansion, which means there's a lot of opportunity. It's just that we got to prep, to be lucky, right? That's what my next topic is. Let me pass here. Then, of course, we'll talk about the next topic, which is the important, right? All of this started with this particular slide, and that's what Muralidharan sir suggested. And we'll talk in details about like 5 minutes, then we can wrap it up. Right. So I remember, it was about 18 years, right? I attended similar session, just like you guys. I was sitting in a conference room, or like auditorium. அன்னைக்கு பிரியா மேடம் சொல்லியிருந்தேன், இது மாதிரி கான்ஃபரன்ஸ் ரூம்ல தான் நாங்க உட்கார்ந்துருந்தோம் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி. So it is a blessing, right? My message here is, you will all be working hard for sure. You'll be doing all your preparation. You'll get placed. I think sitting here in this auditorium, with Muralidhan sir, with our the owners of this organization, and Priya madam, and in general, right? It is a blessing, which means that for about an hour you're thinking about how do you prep yourself, um, to get into a certain job, or build your career, and things like that, right? That's to be honest, that's a blessing, and it's a big deal, right? That sets you a path, right? That helps you to choose a certain things, make a decision at this point of time in your career or in your life, right? So சில examples எல்லாம் சொல்றேன். I will also share some materials later, but I will touch upon the certain areas which is totally important. The first thing is that certify, right? Certification is important. There are bias. Some people want to get certified, some people they don't like to. But in general, if you ask me, I've sat in the interview panels. If somebody is certified, then I don't need to ask a lot of question about certain topic. Example, I would advise whoever sits here, right? Take one cloud certification. Set your goal in the next 3 months. Right now, what, like 929? By end of this year, do one cloud certification. Be it like Azure, which is AZ 900, Azure Fundamentals, or AWS, right? Take one fundamental certification and put it on top of your resume, which speaks a volume, right? You are like well prepared. Apart from completing your MSc Computer Science, MCA, but you've also done like certification, which is like industry cert, right? Do it for me. Okay, and you'll be thanking me after like an year for sure. So do a certification. That's one thing. And the second thing is, don't wait for the actual placement, actually joining certain organizations to start the work now, right? You all guys are like adults and mature people, right? You are at like 20 plus. So do some proof of concepts. So when you go home today or in the weekend, take some project and start doing like proof of concept. What is this about? Like start working on it, or work for a startup. There are small companies, right? You don't need a big naming companies to start working. உங்களுக்கு எல்லாத்துக்குமே வந்து 3+ years வந்து learning, computer science learning இருக்கு. You know a lot of things about the foundation. So look at the application. என்னென்னலாம் தப்பு பண்ணியிருக்காங்க, எப்படிலாம் கோடிங் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க, எப்படிலாம் வந்து எக்ஸெப்ஷன் ஹேண்ட்லிங் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க, ஏன் லாகிங் அவங்க பண்ணல, why they have not deployed in cloud. So you can take them into the cloud. So work for them probably free, right? Until for the next 3 months or 6 months. I would say that is the real internship. All right. You sometimes internship get paid, but I would say if you're part of the startup and you get to help them, you get to learn a lot. To be honest, like I was joined as a first employee of an organization, of a startup in Bangalore. So during my college project, right, I got like 3 or 4 projects, but I chose this. The guy who, I think he completed in Xerox for about 10 years, came back to India after .com burst. He literally helped me, not only on the tech side, but also on the sales, marketing. How do you launch a business? How do you do the sales calls? And how do you do a tech proposals and stuff like that. அந்த டைம்ல நான் ஆக்சுவலா மாஸ்டர் முடிச்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் எனக்கு கொஞ்சம் இங்கிலீஷ் தெரியும். இப்ப பேசுறதே வந்து இவ்வளவு மோசமா இருக்குன்னு என்னோட 10 years முன்னாடி சொல்றேன். So that guy really helped me. He kind of told me that what are the things I should focus on. So my point here is certify, right? Do the certification and do a proof of concept by yourself, and work on your soft skills. Don't underestimate the soft skills. So soft skill is the one which is going to get you placed for sure. You have a skill sets and you have got some experience, you've got certification. But if you can't communicate, if you can't talk, it's not about in English, right? In general, to say everything in a concise manner, to say that, this is what I've done. These are my details. These are my challenges and these are my strength. This is something I can do by closing my eyes. But these are the certain things I have some challenges, right? So when you are able to explain that to the person, to the eyes, look at their eyes and talk to them, that gives the confidence. Oh, these guys know a little bit, but I'm sure he will try. So that's one aspect you should focus on. The last one is the interview prep right now is totally different than like 5 years ago, right? You got like LinkedIn. Go ahead and create a profile in LinkedIn. Not only stop there at the LinkedIn profile, but also put all the courses. Make sure you're writing the right language. Some of you are good at writing, some of you are not. Take some help. Whoever it is in your relatives, friends, or even you can show your profile to your lecturers and get it reviewed, get it updated. The second one is resume. Resume is pretty much like a marketing material, right? The first thing I see, be it like a 1 year experience or a 20 years experience, and sometimes I get resumes with a 25, 26 years experience. The resume is what I get to see. What all degrees he did, what are the projects he has done it, what is the results, how big is the team he managed it. So pretty much the resume. So work on your resume. So these four aspects, LinkedIn, resume, and apply. Don't hesitate. Right after my MSc, I applied for Oracle. I applied for IBM. I got interviews, and in 2 years I got placed into Oracle. I got offered, but I did not join. I was with the Mindtree. I was happy about it. But anyways, so these are the things you should do, right? I'm going to reiterate again. This is the crux of today's session. Do the certification for sure, which is something you can do it. I know for sure because you guys have done probably like 2015 exams already. All of them it's passed, maybe like 70% plus. But you can do the certification for sure. Take that extra step, go one extra mile, get the certification done. And the second one is do a proof of concept, work for some company, XYZ, it doesn't matter. You get a real experience internship, right? Second thing. And the third one is work on your soft skills, which means like talking to your friends, working in a team and talking to your professors and whatnot. And if you want to join English class, go ahead and join. I would certainly advise you to do that. Then the last one is the interview prep itself. I'll share some materials about that. And, we have about like 8 minutes. I'm going to pass here and kind of like I will let you guys digest this, right? And I have one more slide to go, then pretty much, we can wrap up. Be serious. The slide number 11 is what going to help you between now and the next 6 months, right? I know all of my friends. After I got placed, I helped my friends to get placed in my company and at Mindtree and a few other places, right? It's like, don't quit, right? Winners certainly don't quit, right? Maybe it's a first interview, maybe it's a third interview, maybe it's in 100th interview. I know my close friend, I'm not going to disclose the name, he got placed in his like 102 or 103 interviews. So don't get discouraged, right? If you are not quitting, you are certainly going to win for sure. Even the guy, the CEO of Alibaba, I think he explained it. I think he mentioned it in many places. So he's been failing like multiple times, multiple interviews, right? He got rejected in many places, not only in his area, but also even in one of the, I'm not sure it's a Burger King or something like that. So anyways, a lot of people, successful people, initially they get rejected. That doesn't mean that you're bad, you're not qualified, which means that you need to prep, right? They have given some feedback that you're not good, then you go ahead and prep and come back, right? When I reject a candidate, out of 200 people, I onboarded only 30, right? When I reject all the other guys, it doesn't mean they are not qualified. They're not qualified now, but when they go back and prep and come back, I'm ready to take them, right? So here, all these aspects, focus on it. That's just the fourth thing. Certify, keep working, prepare your soft skills, do the interview prep, you know, keep doing the preparations. Never mind it's just a first job or a second job. You would certainly you know, get placed. There are a ton of opportunities, right? You know, when we started with, you know, about like millions of jobs by 2025, you are just like what, 200 300 people, you would certainly able to get placed. ஸோ வித் தேட் எனக்கு எனக்கு பிடிச்சது வந்து என்ன அப்படின்னா வந்து திருக்குறள் ஃபார் ஷுர், ரைட். எனக்கு சில குறள்கள் வந்து எனக்கு ரொம்ப பிடிக்கும். இதையும் நான் நிறைய தடவை ரெஃபரன்ஸ் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். அக்கம் அதர்வனாய் செல்லும் அசைவிலா ஊக்கம் உடையான்கண் உடையான் உலை. அப்படின்னா என்ன அப்படின்னா, let me give that, right. அதாவது எப்போ வந்து நம்ம தோய்வு இல்லாம வந்து நம்ம வந்து சலிக்காம வந்து உழைக்கிறோமோ, கண்டிப்பா உங்களுக்கு வந்து உங்களுக்கு என்னென்னலாம் நினைக்கிறீங்களோ எவ்ரிதிங் யூ வில் அச்சீவ் ஃபார் ஷூர். இப்போ எக்ஸாம்பிளுக்கு வந்து நான் ஜாவா டெவலப்பர் ஆகணும்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க. எக்ஸாம்பிள், ஃப்ரண்ட் அண்ட் டெவலப்பர் ஆகணும், ஜாவா ஸ்கிரிப்ட் டெவலப்பர் ஆகணும்னா தோய்வு இல்லாம நான் உழைச்சிட்டே இருந்தேன்னா, இன்னைக்கு படிக்கிறேன் நாளைக்கு படிக்கிறேன், இன்னொரு 1 month, இன்னொரு 2 months, in 3 months I think I'll be far better than the other 10 guys, right? So தோய்வு இல்லாம நீங்க வந்து பண்ணிட்டே இருந்தீங்க அப்படின்னா, I'm pretty sure things will fall into your lap. That's what it says. You don't need to seek, right? It's certainly going to happen. So let me summarize, right? It's just like a 2 minutes summarization. First of all, there's a good news. Market is really good. I'm not sure about the share market crash and all that, but the prediction says like by 2025 there's a 65 million jobs, right? That's by McKinsey, and they do a lot of work. The second one is take one sector, take one area, focus on that. There are variety of things based on your interest. Then once you choose, then go in depth in certain areas. The more depth you know, or the breadth you know, you can easily crack the interviews, right? It doesn't take a lot of time. About 3 months you can prep. Then you understand how a company functions, agile methodology, QA approach, and stuff like that. Then information security is a key. It's going to work. I mean, there's going to be a ton of jobs in the next 10-20 years. Right now there are so many jobs, but in the next 10 to 20 years, information security, privacy related jobs, there's going to be a ton of them. You can see stuff like what is happening in India, and you can get motivated for sure. You don't need to travel to Europe, US to understand how business functions. India is setting a path. In fact, like they are doing much faster digital transformation compared to the other countries. Then prepare, keep preparing, right? Certify, work, just work on proof of concept by yourself, prepare soft skills, do the interview prep. I can certainly help. Reach me out. I'll share my contact information, and I'm also bringing in like at least about like 5 people so who can help you guys, right? There is no intention or anything, we just want to purely help the society. So that's the reason for it. And finally, winners never quit. You would certainly get placed, or God knows, like you will start your own company, right? That happens. And remember this, remember this திருக்குறள். கண்டிப்பா இந்த திருக்குறள் வந்து உங்களுக்கு வந்து உதவும், சரியா? With that, thank you very much. I guess I have taken a little more time. Thank you very much for this opportunity.